Most people think that their financial stress comes from how much money they make, but in reality, it comes from the stage of life you're in and using the wrong financial strategy for that stage. See, a mortgage at 30 may be completely normal, but that same mortgage at 55, it may be a financial disaster. And the problem is no one is speaking about this, so I decided to. Over the last several years, I've helped hundreds of clients, some being first-time buyers all the way up into retirement age and everyone in between. And there's one universal realization I've made is that people don't have a debt problem. They actually have a cash flow timing issue. See, money problems rarely come from the income side of things. It's typically you have your cash flow doing the wrong job at the wrong time. And timing is important because there are three distinct cash flow cycles that every homeowner will go through. And I'm going to speak to those and I'm going to discuss what exactly you should be doing. So while you're listening, try to actually identify where you are personally, because once you identify where you are, you'll be able to start making better mortgage and cash flow decisions and things will start making a lot more sense. Now, the first cycle that we all enter is the building stage. Okay, so most of my clients that I meet are going to be from 25 to 40 years of age. Oftentimes their income is really growing quickly at this point, and that's why they want to start building a life for themselves. Savings tends to be low, but there's a lot of excitement and there's a little bit of fear there. It's not unusual to meet, someone in their 30s when they're buying their first home or if they're coming up for their first renewal, secretly wondering, did I just make the biggest financial mistake of my life by buying this house? And the thing is that fear comes from a couple places. So mainly because everything costs way more than we expected, right? The price of the house, the closing, the repairs, the furnishings, running your utilities, everything seems to cost more, right? And there's also a deeper realization that, the risk now is that your cash flow is fragile, right? Because you have obligations. And so there's a bit of an internal fear about that. Now, the excitement tends to get overridden because people do want to build for themselves. They want to buy their first home. They want to buy their first investment property. And the one way to do that is actually increasing your debt. So debt increasing during this time is very, very normal. Now, the goal is to do it in a very stable manner, all right? Giving yourself lots of breathing room and just not being overly aggressive because you're trying to build a foundation here, right? And you want to avoid a lot of early mistakes. Because if you avoid a lot of early mistakes, then the next cycle that I'm going to explain to you is going to be less intense, okay? And this cycle is called the pressure stage. So my clients that I typically work with in this stage are going to be anywhere from 40 years of age to about 55 years of age. And they'll be in peak career, making a lot of money. They'll have kids, and their kids will have a lot of things that they're doing. And you'll just generally have a lot of responsibilities. You may also be starting to take care of parents and, other people and dependents on top of just your unit. So there's a lot of pressure financially, right? So that's why you can see it's the pressure stage. And what's ultimately true with almost everyone I speak to in this stage is that, you're making the most money you've ever made, but every time you look at your bank account, you feel the most broke. And so there's a bit of a paradox to that, right? And what you realize now is that your mortgage is actually starting to compete with the rest of your life. It's like your mortgage didn't grow, your life did. So now what you're finding is a lot of issues you're having, you don't have any tools for them yet because all the budgeting apps and things like that you used before, they're failing you, right? Because this isn't really an issue of just looking at your money. This is about coordinating your money. It's out of whack right now. So we need to realign and reset. And once you do that, structurally, you'll be a lot more sound and you'll start making a lot more progress. And so financially, you have to move ahead by getting re-coordinating, recreating the breathing room and taking over control again. So this is less about a rate issue. This is a cash flow structure issue. So we need to get things realigned and having you move forward. Because eventually you're going to stop building and pressure will ease and you'll enter the cycle 3 of for cash flow homeowners, which is the transition stage. See, this stage, my clients are typically a little bit older now. So they're typically from 55 to about 70 years of age. And they'll actually have really high incomes. So things are going really well that way. Their expenses seem to fall off, right? Because now their kids are kind of grown and they're not paying for hockey and piano and college and everything else they had to do for them. But so all things sound pretty good so far, right? The one thing though is you quickly realize is now your timeline is now shrunk, okay? Time becomes the most important variable here because most mortgages now become part of your retirement decision. So the focus shifts away from growth and it becomes all about creating options. And the one way to create more options as you get older and regarding your debt is actually compressing as much as you can early. The earlier you can compress your debt, you will improve your future choices. Okay, and you got to be really important about how you make decisions at this stage because, at 35, you have time to recover from a financial mistake. But at 58, you really don't, right? So that's why restructuring early matters because you'll compress more of that debt and then suddenly you'll have more options to choose from once you get to that stage where you choose to retire. Because retirement problems actually start 10 years before you retire. Now, you honestly see yourselves in one of these stages. So I want you just to realize that when you're going through the building stage, it's really about creating a protective way of a protective foundation for you to move forward financially. And the pressure stage is all about realigning things. You've built a lot. Now you need to realign and coordinate yourself so you can again move forward financially. And then in that transition stage, you really want to create a lot more certainty for yourself. That's being done by creating more options. Okay. Now, what you're realizing more than anything else, I hope, is that mortgages themselves are not the issue. Okay. They help you through this journey by giving you quite a bit to build off of. So the mortgage is not the issue. The cash flow and the behavior of the cash flow around it is. Okay, and that's the most important part. So, for myself, my job isn't just to help people get better mortgages. It's really, identifying and helping people that need a strategy to match their stage of life. Because you're actually living through life. So we need to get things coordinated. Because once that happens, money stops feeling stressful because you have a plan. And that's what I help owners do every day. Now, if you're interested in having a chat with me, please just drop me a DM and we'll start a conversation.